Imagine you're in her shoes. A 21-year-old, intelligent, athletic young woman with a seemingly perfect life ahead of her, but carrying invisible burdens that no one around her can decipher. It's February 2004, a cold, snowy night in the remote mountains of New Hampshire, USA. You're driving alone on a dark, winding road, Route 112, when your car skids on the snow and crashes into a tree. You emerge unscathed, but shivering with cold, your heart racing. A school bus driver stops and offers help, but you, for some reason only you know, politely refuse, claiming you've already called for help. He drives away, and within minutes, the police arrive. But you've vanished, disappeared like smoke in the freezing air, leaving behind only a damaged car, scattered personal belongings, and an enigma that has haunted investigators, family, and true crime enthusiasts for over 2 decades. This is the chilling and inexplicable story of Maura Murray, the disappearance that became the first major criminal mystery of the social media age. Welcome to this special video, a deep and meticulous dive into the Maura Murray case, updated to November 2025. If you love true crime, real stories that seem like fiction, and plot twists that leave you breathless, hit the like button now, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell, because we're going to dissect every detail, every theory, and every recent update. Prepare your coffee or tea, because this script will keep you hooked from beginning to end. And who knows, maybe you'll find a clue that no one else has seen. Let's start with the basics. Who was Maura Murray before she became synonymous with mystery? Born on May 4th, 1982 in Brockton, Massachusetts, Maura was the fourth of 5 children of Fred Murray, and Laurie Murray, a Catholic couple of Irish descent. The family was close-knit, but not without its pains. Her parents divorced when Maura was only 6 years old, and she grew up primarily with her mother in Hanson, Massachusetts, while maintaining a close relationship with her father, a dedicated engineer who encouraged her in sports and studies. Maura had an older brother named Fred Jr., an older sister named Kathleen, a younger sister named Julie, and a half-brother named Curtis. From an early age, Maura stood out as an exceptional athlete. In high school at Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, she was a track and field star, competing in cross-country, track and field, and even basketball. Her coaches described her as determined, competitive, and with an impeccable work ethic. She broke records in long-distance races and was known for her resilience, running even in adverse conditions. Friends from that time saw her as reserved but charismatic, with a contagious smile that masked an introspective personality. Physically, Maura was about 1.70 meters tall, weighed around 54 kilos, had shoulder-length dark brown hair, piercing blue eyes, and an athletic body sculpted by years of training. After high school, Maura pursued an ambitious path. She was accepted into the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, where she studied chemical engineering for 3 semesters. There, she met William Bill Rausch, a tall, blonde, and athletic cadet who would become her longtime boyfriend. The two seemed like the ideal couple. He in the Army, she full of plans. But West Point wasn't the right place for Maura. She transferred to the University of Massachusetts Amherst, UMass, where she entered the nursing program in her junior year in 2004. At UMass, her routine was exhausting. In addition to rigorous classes, she worked 2 jobs, as a security monitor in a campus dormitory and at a local art gallery. Despite the pressure, Maura maintained high grades and dreamed of becoming a nurse, perhaps in a hospital or emergency room, where her determination could shine. But behind this facade of success, there were signs of turmoil. In November 2003, just 3 months before her disappearance, Maura made an impulsive mistake. She used a stolen credit card to order pizzas and snacks worth less than $80. It was a silly act, attributed to college stress, and she pleaded guilty, settling the case with 3 months of good community behavior. The family insists that this didn't deeply affect her, but added to other incidents, it paints a picture of a young woman under intense emotional pressure. Speaking of pressure, let's look at the events leading up to the fateful day of February 9th, 2004, Maura seemed to be dealing with an internal storm. Her sister Kathleen was battling alcoholism. She had recently left rehab, but relapses were frequent, creating tension in the family. On the night of February 5th, while working the security shift at UMass's Melville Hall dormitory, Maura received a call around 10:30 p.m. that left her devastated. She broke down in uncontrollable tears, becoming unresponsive for minutes. Her supervisor, concerned, escorted her back to her room at Kennedy Hall around 1:20 a.m. on February 6th. Maura only murmured, "My sister." Years later, Kathleen would reveal that the call was from her, recounting a relapse into alcoholism after her fiancé took her to a liquor store, an emotional trigger that deeply affected Maura. This episode marked the beginning of a downward spiral. Maura, who rarely showed vulnerability, was clearly shaken. The following weekend, things worsened. On February 7th, Fred Murray traveled from Connecticut to Amherst to help Maura buy a used car, as the brand new Toyota Corolla he had given her had been destroyed in an accident in November 2003. They spent the afternoon looking at options, including a black 1996 Saturn that Maura would eventually drive. That evening, they had dinner with a friend of Maura's named Sara Alfieri, and afterward, Maura dropped her father off at his motel, borrowing his Toyota Corolla to return to campus. She arrived at a dorm party around 10:30 p.m., drinking with friends like Kate Markopoulos and Sarah. But the night ended badly. Maura left the party at 2:30 a.m. on February 8th, and driving her father's car on Route 9 in Hadley, Massachusetts, crashed into a guardrail around 3:30 a.m., causing approximately $10,000 in damages. No sobriety tests were recorded, and Maura wasn't fined. But the incident left her even more stressed. She spent the rest of the night in her father's motel room. At 4:49 that morning, a call was made from Fred's phone to Bill Rausch's cell phone. The content is unknown, and it's unclear who made the call. In the morning, Fred discovered that the insurance would cover the damages, rented a car, dropped Maura back on campus, and left for Connecticut, arranging to call that evening to discuss the insurance forms. Now, we arrive at D-Day, February 9th, 2004, a snowy Monday. Maura woke up early at Kennedy Hall. Shortly after midnight, she searched MapQuest, the Google Maps of the time, for directions to the Berkshires in Massachusetts and Burlington, Vermont. Around 10:30 a.m., she accessed her computer again to refine those searches. At 12:55 p.m., she called Linda Salamone, the owner of a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, a place the Murray family used for vacations, including a trip with Bill in July 2003. The call lasted 3 minutes, but nothing was booked. At 1 p.m., Maura sent an email to Bill with the subject line, Hey, I love you more, stud. I received your messages, but honestly, I didn't feel like talking to anyone. I promise to call today. Love you, Maura." At 1:13 p.m., she called a nursing colleague to arrange the return of borrowed clothes, leaving them at her dorm room later. At 1:24 p.m., she sent emails to professors and work supervisors, lying about a death in the family to justify a week's absence, a lie confirmed by the family, as there had been no death. At 2:05 p.m., Maura called 1-877-GO-STOW, a tourist information line in Stowe, Vermont. The call lasted 5 minutes, but the reservations line was down and nothing was booked. At 2:18 p.m., she tried calling Bill again, leaving a 1-minute voicemail promising to talk later. He didn't answer because he was trying to call Maura's friend, Kate. Around 3:15 p.m., Maura packed items into the car: clothes, toiletries such as a travel toothbrush and birth control pills, textbooks, a teddy bear given by Bill, jewelry, makeup, and an intriguing book called Not Without Peril, 150 Years of Misadventure on the Presidential Range of New Hampshire, which chronicles deaths on trails in the White Mountains. Her dorm room looked ready for a change. Most things were in boxes, artwork removed from the walls, and on top of the boxes, a printed email to Bill hinting at relationship problems. Around 3:30 p.m., security cameras captured her alone withdrawing $280 from an ATM at the Big Y Plaza in Hadley, almost all the money in her account. She then went to Liquors 44 in Hadley, where she returned 79 cans and bottles for $3.95 and bought $40 worth of alcohol, a bottle of Kahlua vodka, a nip of Bailey's Irish Cream, a case of Francia wine, and a 12-pack of Smirnoff Ice. Alone in the footage, she left at 3:43 p.m. Around 4 p.m., she picked up duplicate accident report forms at the Hadley police station, possibly for the weekend incident. Maura left campus between 4 and 5 p.m., driving her black Saturn north on Interstate 91. The weather was terrible. Heavy snow, slippery roads. Her last confirmed use of her cell phone was at 4:37 p.m., checking voicemails for 4 minutes. It's unknown who left the messages. No one, family, friends, Bill, knew of her plans. What was driving her? Accumulated stress from accidents, family problems, academic pressure, a desire to escape, or something darker? Let's get to the heart of the story, the night of her disappearance. Around 7 p.m., Maura arrived at Route 112, a secluded rural road in Haverhill, New Hampshire, near Woodsville, an area of dense forest, few houses, and no cell phone signal. At 7:27 p.m., Faith Westman, a local resident, heard a noise and saw a wrecked car across the street, against a snowbank on a sharp bend. She called the Grafton County Sheriff's Department, reporting a man smoking a cigarette inside the car. Later, her husband Tim clarified that it was a red glow, possibly the light from a cell phone or e-cigarette. Minutes later, at 7:29 p.m., Butch Atwood, a 58-year-old school bus driver who lived 100 meters away, drove past the scene in his bus. He stopped and saw Maura alone, shivering with cold beside the Saturn, which had collided with a tree on the driver's side, damaging the left headlight, the radiator, cracking the windshield, and deploying the airbags. Maura didn't appear injured, bleeding, or intoxicated, but agitated and nervous. Atwood offered help. "Do you want me to call the police?" She replied, "No, I already called ALOA," but there was no cell phone signal in the Po area, and ALOA records confirm she never called. Atwood continued home and from there called the police at 7:43 p.m., describing a young woman who was disturbed. Meanwhile, another neighbor, John Marat, saw Maura walking around the car from his window. Sergeant Cecil Smith of the Haverhill Police Department was dispatched at 7:29 p.m. and arrived at the scene at 7:46 p.m., according to the record, just 7 minutes after Atwood's call. But Maura was gone. The car was locked, the keys missing with her. Inside, red wine stains on the roof, seats, and exterior, an empty beer bottle, a damaged and leaking Francia wine box, an Ada Boyer card, blank forms, gloves, CDs, makeup, jewelry, printed directions to Burlington, a teddy bear, and the book Not Without Peril. Missing, debit and credit cards, a cell phone, and some bottles of alcohol. Curiously, a red rag, possibly from the car's emergency kit, was found clogged in the exhaust pipe, which could prevent the engine from starting or prevent the car from being towed immediately. There were no footprints in the fresh snow beyond a few meters, suggesting that Maura did not enter the dense forest next door. Between 8 p.m. and 8:30 p.m., a contractor named Rick Forcier reported seeing a young woman running east on Route 112, 4 or 5 miles from the accident, wearing jeans, a dark jacket, and a light-colored hoodie, a description that matches Maura. He only reported this 3 months later, after checking his work records. Another witness, known as Witness A, Karen McNamara, passed by the scene between 7:33 p.m. and 7:37 p.m. and saw a police SUV nose-to-nose with a dark sedan, 10 minutes before Smith's official arrival, raising questions about the police timeline. What happened in those crucial 7-10 minutes between Atwood leaving and the police arriving? Did Maura flee on foot? Did she hitch a ride with someone? Was she abducted? The police initially treated the case as a possibly drunk driver fleeing to avoid a ticket. Maura was 21, the legal drinking age, but the alcohol in the car was suspicious, although Atwood swore she didn't appear drunk. The family was notified the following day, February 10th. At 3:20 p.m., a message was left on Fred's voicemail about the found car. His sister Julie informed Fred at 5 p.m., and he called the police, demanding action. If Maura didn't appear by the next morning, a search would begin. Fred arrived in Haverhill before dawn on February 11th. Furious at the police's delay, a bulletin of obligation, BOLO, was issued. Maura described as 5'11", on 25 lb, brown hair, blue eyes, last seen wearing a black jacket, jeans, dark sneakers, and possibly a black backpack. Initial searches involved the family, the fish and game department, and sniffer dogs. One dog followed the scent of Maura's glove for 100 yards east on the road, but lost the trail, suggesting she got into a vehicle. Bill Rausch, stationed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, flew to New Hampshire and assisted in the search, but was questioned by police. On the same day, a voicemail was left on Bill's cell phone from a Red Cross calling card, containing sounds of crying or heavy breathing. The family believes it to be Maura, but this has never been confirmed. Police suggested she might be a runaway or suicidal. The family vehemently disagreed. On February 12th, Fred and Bill held a press conference in Bethlehem, New Hampshire, appealing for help. Police mentioned that Maura might have gone to the Kancamagus Highway and hinted at intoxication, contradicting Atwood. Media coverage began on February 13th with local articles. The family expanded the search to Vermont. The FBI became involved after 10 days, interviewing acquaintances. A second land and air search with helicopters and dogs took place. Divers checked rivers. On February 17th, Sister Kathleen found a torn pair of underwear on a railroad track on French Pond Road. DNA tested, but not Maura's. Items from the car were returned to the family on February 19th. In March, Fred continued the search, but there were complaints of trespassing. In April, police took items from the car for forensic analysis. No connection to the disappearance of Brianna Maitland in Vermont, 66 miles away. On March 19th. In June, police ruled out a link to a serial killer. They believed Maura hitched a ride to an unknown destination. In July, items were tested. A 1-mile radius search with 100 people found nothing conclusive. In late 2004, a man gave Fred a rusty knife belonging to his brother, who had a criminal record and lived less than a mile from the accident. The brother allegedly said it was the gun that killed Maura. The brother scrapped his Volvo days after the disappearance. Family believes the story was fabricated for a reward. In 2005, Fred petitioned Governor Craig Benson for help, appeared on The Montel Williams Show, birthday marked with service at the site, met Governor John Lynch. In late 2005, Fred sued law enforcement for records. In November 2005, forum user Tom Davies reported a black backpack as belonging to Maura at Pemigewasset Overlook, 30 miles east. Authorities aware, but no results released. In 2006, the New Hampshire League of Investigators, retired officers, and the Molly Bish Foundation joined. A $75,000 reward offered. In October 2006, a 2-day volunteer search. Cadaver dogs alerted in closet at home, A-frame, 1 mile from the accident. Former residents of the knife-wielding brother. Carpet sample taken. Results not revealed. In July 2008, another 2-day search in the Haverhill Woods with dogs and investigators. In 2009, the case was transferred to the Cold Case Unit, cited for the creation of a state unit. In 2010, Fred criticized the police, requested FBI involvement, active investigation, treated as a potential homicide. On the 10th anniversary in 2014, no credible findings. Fred believed in abduction and death. On the 13th in 2017, the case was reopened with periodic activity. On the 15th, in February 2019, Fred reiterated his belief in death and suspicions about a nearby house. In April 2019, excavation in the basement of the house found nothing. A piece of pottery or pipe. In early 2021, a memorial tree on the site was cut down. A request for a historical marker was denied. On September 14, 2021, bone fragments were found on Loon Mountain, 25 miles east. Tested for months. In November 2021, they were not Maura's. In January 2022, the FBI issued a national alert and violent criminal profile. In July 2022, searches were conducted in Landaff and Easton, New Hampshire. On her 20th birthday, February 9, 2024, an age progression photo was released. showing Maura at age 41. Now, in 2025, 21 years later, the case remains unsolved, but with renewed momentum thanks to digital media. In February 2025, an A&E article, 21 years later, Maura Murray's family still seeks answers, highlighted the timeline reconstructed by Fred, concluding foul play. In May, a Reddit post, "Are Maura Murray? 20 years later, what really happened to Maura?" generated debates with thousands of comments. In August, episode 47 of the Super Seuss podcast, The Vanishing of Maura Murray, Part 1, explored her final days, initial searches, and persistent mysteries. In October, Part 2 on Dr. Phil, Into Thin Air, Mysterious Disappearance of Maura Murray, unveiled new theories, forensic clues, and human behavior, calling it one of America's most haunting cold cases. A YouTube video, The Case That Obsessed the Internet, Maura Murray, Clues Pod, posted 3 days ago in November 2025, recounts the accident and vanishing, with millions of views. Facebook groups such as What Happened to Maura in New Hampshire remain active, with posts in October discussing the case as Disappearance After Crash on Route 112. The family's website, MauraMurrayMissing.org, emphasizes foul play, with Julie Murray leading campaigns on TikTok, Maura Murray Missing, over 300,000 followers. The podcast, The Untold Story of Maura Murray, and appeals for tips. They reject theories of voluntary flight, focusing on abduction. Theories abound and divide opinions. The most popular in online forums, voluntary disappearance. Maura planned to run away to start over. Tired of the pressure. Evidence includes searches for directions, lying about a death in the family, packing essential items, and almost completely emptying her bank account, perhaps to Canada or Vermont, living under a new identity. Counter-arguments. She left behind medication, her sentimental teddy bear, and didn't contact anyone in 21 years. The family says Maura was too responsible to abandon everything. Another theory, suicide or accidental death by hypothermia. Stressed, she entered the forest and died of cold. The book, Not Without Peril, suggests an obsession with deaths in the mountains. Initial police believed it was suicide, but extensive searches found no body. Dogs didn't track her to the forest, and the family rejects this, saying Maura was strong and optimistic. The crime theory, abduction or homicide. Fred believes someone picked her up on the isolated road, perhaps an opportunistic local or acquaintance. Suspicions fall on the A-frame house, the knife, and her brother with a history. Police have been treating it as a potential homicide since 2009. A connection to Brianna Maitland has been speculated, but there is no proof. Bill's involvement, accused of abuse in 2011, acquitted, and 2023, not linked to Maura. His alibi of taking time off after her disappearance is questioned, but he helped with the search. Conspiracy theories, police cover-up, discrepancy in the timeline with witness A, or Maura, a victim of a serial killer in the area. None known. The media impact is enormous. She appeared in 2020, disappeared. Season 1, Episode 6, Nancy Grace, Dr. Oz, and the Oxygen miniseries, The Disappearance of Maura Murray, 2017, called The First Mystery of the Social Media Age. Articles in Boston Globe, People, Newsweek, New Yorker, Rolling Stone. Online, forums like Web Sleuths, Reddit, Are Maura Murray with thousands, and Facebook, MySpace have fueled speculation since 2005. James Renner's book, True Crime Addict, 2016, suggests escape or murder by an acquaintance. Family disputed this. Julie's TikTok and podcast maintain visibility in 2025. In November 2025, Maura remains missing. Case open at the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit. If you have any information, contact the New Hampshire State Police, 603-271-2663, FBI 1-800-634-4097, or tip.fbi.gov. This case reminds us how a life can become an eternal enigma. What do you think? Did she run away? Was she abducted? Comment below, share your theories, and subscribe for more true crime. Stay safe. Until the next video.